Welcome back to Great Day. All right, music lovers, if you were to guess which rock band has charted the most #1 singles in the last quarter century, the answer might surprise you. Metallica? Nope. Green Day or the Foo Fighters? Nice try. Coldplay? Not even close, but they should get their own award for Best Jumbotron notification. Anyway, the rock band that has charted the most #1 singles is Shinedown. They have topped the charts a record-breaking 22 times, have 15 platinum and gold singles, and over 6.5 billion global streams. In March, they won Rock Artist and Rock Song of the Year at the iHeartRadio Music Awards, and with 3 new songs already released in 2025, Shinedown is showing no signs of slowing down. They're coming to Houston next week on their first major headlining tour. More on that in a few minutes. First, I spoke with drummer Barry Kerch about his more than 2 decades with the band, how they got their name, and how his career was almost derailed at the height of their success. Shinedown, Brent Smith on vocals, Zach Myers guitar, Eric bass in production, and Barry Kerch, that would be you, on drums. Were you that kid banging on pots and pans?
I was that kid, much to the annoyance of my parents, yes.
But the cool thing about it is that your grandma had a prediction for you, and they're sure glad it came true.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. She was the one that got me started on this path when I was 7 years old, and here I am.
You got a snare drum, but just because you wanted a whole drum set didn't mean you were going to get it. Your parents made a deal with you and you came through.
Yeah, I had to work on the basics, the rudiments, and things like that for a few years before I was able to upgrade to a drum set. But I wouldn't change it any other way. It was good to get the basics under my hands first. Yeah,
I interview so many musicians. A lot of them are usually guitar players. What was it about drums that you loved so much?
You know, we make it not a joke, but a kind of a thing in the band that we talk about often is that there's 2 different types of ways people listen to music. Some people listen to melodies and vocals and the lyrics. Others listen to rhythm, and that's always been me. Rhythm just fascinates me, and that's what got me going. And you know, I couldn't even tell you all the lyrics to half of our Shinedown songs because I'm listening to the rhythm. Yeah,
that's true. I was in marching band. I know you were in marching band as well. We always relied on those drums, and sometimes I didn't know what notes I was playing, but we would pay attention to the drums. You grew up in the 70s and 80s, military brat, lived in Florida. You also were an athlete, so you played tennis in high school. What was it about music that kind of overrode that athletic ability you had?
Music was always there first before I even played tennis. My mother was a tennis player. She was a semi-pro out of Florida, so she actually coached me as a young kid and taught me how to play, and then I played in high school. But I wasn't tall enough to be really, really good at tennis. You know, a lot of tennis players, especially on the men's side, are very tall, and so that was a disadvantage for me for sure.
Well, Mama told me when I was young.
And you did that thing kind of where you had these parallel lives. So there's a music part that you still loved, but you got your degree in anthropology, so we're in college. You got a job with the lake doctors. Explain what you did in that job.
When I was in college studying anthropology, I wanted to become eventually a forensic anthropologist, which had some basic chemistry and things of that nature. Was saving money to maybe go get my master's. Ended up moving up to Jacksonville, where my brother was with my now wife. For this lake doctor's job, because he had a friend that worked in it and they had an opening, and all I needed was some basic chemistry. So basically all I did was go around with a company truck and a boat, and you know, Florida's got a lot of retention ponds and all those kinds of things, and they get overrun with invasive weeds and species and get choked out, and it chokes out the water aquifer. So my job was to go in and test the water, put stuff in the water to kill off the feral weeds without killing off the wildlife.
Yeah,
and it was a fun job. I knew where all the good fishing spots were.
Yeah, right. We're too close to alligators and snakes, I think. But anyway, the drummer thing is much safer. Tell us how Shinedown got formed and how the name came about.
Shortly after I got that job in Jacksonville, my brother, who's a radio guy, got a demo on a CD from this guy named Brent Smith. And it was just a couple demo songs, and they were looking for a drummer. And he gave it to me. He's like, I think you'll like this guy's voice. And so I went and auditioned for the band, and we did 2 songs, one of them being 45 off the first record. And then I went into a studio with them because they wanted to know if I could record. And I recorded that version of 45. Moved on down, we made the band, recorded in LA, and actually that 45, that song on the first record was my audition. It ended up making it on the record, so everybody listens to that. That was my audition for the band. And then the name Shinedown came. We were sitting around trying to come up with something, and we were at the bass player's house, and he had this picture on a mantle that a mutual friend painted for him. And Brent, our singer, said, "Wouldn't it look cool if you had a light shining down on that?" And that was the emphasis of where the band's name came. But it became Shinedown, and it kind of fits us. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. That's a lot of what our lyrics are about, so it fits us really well.
And Leave a Whisper became something that was not a whisper, it was heard loudly. And you say your entire lives led up to this moment.
Yeah, you wish, you hope, you pray to be successful in the music business and to get a record deal and then get out there and tour, and we did, and we went through the trenches and toured that record forever, it seems, but with the hard work, 20 years later, we're still here and working on our 8th record, so it's very much a blessing, but it's also a lot more hard work than I think I even thought it was in those days.
Yeah, but hit after hit after hit, Us and Them, The Sound of Madness. Includes the single Second Chance, one of the most popular and most played songs still. And then all of a sudden something happens that comes out of the blue, and especially for a drummer or any musician for the most part, this is tough. You had carpal tunnel syndrome. And you started to notice things were happening where you weren't able to play as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a repetitive injury, and obviously I use my wrists and arms a lot for playing drums. And from marching band, I kind of played very stiff initially, and I ended up getting carpal tunnel pretty bad, and it was affecting my playing and making it hard to play. So I had to change everything. I went to a guy named Dom Famularo, who's a famous drummer's drummer. God rest his soul, he passed a couple years ago. I spent some time with him, and we really worked on my hands, and he loosened me up and changed my technique to where, even though it looks like I'm hitting super hard, and I am, I guess, but I'm not holding on to the sticks like I used to, and it really changed everything for me, and I was able to heal from that.
It's amazing what the hard times can reveal. Like who shows up, who walks away, and who's for real.
What's been so cool about you all is that, as you mentioned, you still have staying power, but you also kind of diversified where your music is heard. Licensed to video games, ESPN, sports events, marching bands oftentimes cover Bully. Your music can be heard in restaurants, in grocery stores, malls, elevators. Have you ever been someplace like a mall or something and went, hey, guess who that is?
I have. I've even been in my local grocery store, and I was like, oh, that's neat. They're playing me,
You can try, but the dead don't die.
Don't make a spectacle out of it, but it's kind of neat to know that your music is reaching so far and into so many vast places that you would never expect to hear your songs.
Don't worry, it's all just a symptom of being human.
Your latest album, Planet Zero, and the single, of course, A Symptom of Being Human. Tell us the inspiration for that.
That song really came, that record was being written basically during the pandemic, and it was just really a reflection on all of us realizing that no matter where you come from, who you are, we're all just humans, and we all go through these same things together, and we all, it's humility in knowing that we all go through those things, and that's really the impetus of that song and why it was created, is just kind of, we're all in this together.
Killing Fields, your newest song out now, is kind of mysterious and fiery.
This song is really, truly a reflection of our bass player and in his brain. These are mostly his lyrics, actually. It's no secret that he suffers from pretty severe depression. Of course, it says toxic twins on a carousel. That's really the good and the bad inside of his head, constantly trying to battle it out and overcome with good. So it's really about him.
And I'm gonna go back to your earlier days, Barry as a barista, which kind of figures into one of your businesses today.
Yeah, that's how I paid my way through college. I worked in coffee shops. That's how I met my now wife in college, was making coffees for her and sneaking her some free ones. I love coffee, and now, I've owned a a small coffee business called Spartan Brews Coffee for the past 7 years now with a friend and partner of mine who's a veteran, Army veteran. It's been an exciting journey.
All right, in Houston, we like it hot and spicy sometimes, so you also have a Shinedown hot sauce?
Yeah, so we partnered with a company called Torchbearer. Basically, they were looking to go to one of the labels and, hey, is any of you artists interested in collabing? And I raised my hand because I've been growing peppers and making my own hot sauces my whole life. And so we spent about 5-6 months developing these 3 different sauces. We'd send tasting notes back and forth. They'd send me samples, etc. And we finally came down to these 3 sauces that we really love. Slap Shinedown's name on it, and they're out there.
All right, you marched to a lot of different beats. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to hearing your beats. Drop some beats when you come to the Toyota Center.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. You can see Shinedown live in concert along with opening acts Bush and Morgan Wade next Wednesday, August 27th at 7 p.m. at Toyota Center. Great seats are still available online, and $1 per ticket sold will be donated to the charity Musicians on Call, which provides live music for hospital patients to help lift their spirits. Visit greatdayhouston.com for additional information and links for Shinedown.